Hello, everybody. Happy Thursday. Welcome to Mimosa Hotline, aka our talk show where we join you every Thursday. And this is Ronnie Bartless, your business strategist. I'm Ashley and Ronii, your brand strategist. And we come to you with the top of mind items that are going on in our lives, things that we're thinking about, things that we're helping clients work through, and really whatever it is that week. So we were just in the green room being like, so what about this week? What do we talk about? Because this is where we're honest, bold, blunt truth bombs come to you, and we're raw and real with you. So we are going to just dive in first with Ronnie because she has an amazing new share to share.
So I've been on a PR kick. Like that's my marketing strategy. Yeah. And so I had recorded a few podcasts earlier in the summer, and I had one actually go live yesterday. We'll put the link in the show notes for Dr. Charity. And we just talked about like marketing and business being hard, and it's really not, and creating content for all the things every single day and all of those kinds of things. And so it was an interesting interview because when we got done, like it was basically a masterclass for her. And she was like, she just kept asking questions about like, how should we do this? And how should I do that? And this, that, and the other. And she was like, this is really good content that I feel like I just got mastered in content creation and marketing. So it was a really good interview. I'm excited for it.
I love that. No, it's always funny. I think we're kind of dangerous guests because whenever we are a guest for someone, we end up like coaching them and then talking them through like whatever set things. So like you gave her this content genius-ness. I remember it's just a fun story that I'm proud of it. Okay. Like I like bragging about this, but one time that I met one of my connections, Thomas, I'll leave his last name out of it just in case they don't have permission to say this, but Thomas was actually the host of the show that I was doing. And I had started talking to him about branding. And by the end, he decided to leave the show, start his own thing and do his own thing. And I was like, ooh, like love this, but sorry, like at this time. So yeah, I love being a guest. And also it's kind of this format. I feel like it's just that easy, raw, off the cuff genius-ness that we're kind of known for, I guess. Was there one thing that like maybe you said or a tip that you shared with her that you were like, ooh, that was good? Or do you black out? I black out.
I black out. I was getting ready to say, I don't have any clue what I said. Granted, it was also months ago that it was pre-recorded. So like, I don't remember anything, but even so, like, even afterwards, I'm like, I don't know what I talked about. I get off of here and I'm like, I don't know what I talked about. Like, even when we do the show notes afterwards and we like go through it, I'm like, damn, look at us.
I sounded smart, y'all. I said that. That was me. Did you hear that? Like, me. I know. I have that too. I wonder how many people have that. Like, for me, it's just being in my zone. It's what I love. It's what it's second nature to us. So maybe that's our thing. But I have that too. When I write the show notes, I'm always like, oh, Ronnie, that was so good. Or like, so good. And then, then we do our crazy stuff behind the scenes that keeps us in balance of this. But
well, and I think this is probably a good segue into this about like, I guess it was last week, you had like a really smart day and then
you're going to out me, aren't you?
Yes, because I think it's so funny and we all do it.
No, it's so good. I actually want you to. Just warning, I'm going to blush because this shit's real. And it was like, wow.
I mean, it's one of those things. I think we all do it, particularly for people. Like, we work with people a lot like us. Like, they're genius in what they do. Yeah. And it's really hard being smart sometimes.
Yeah. Like, okay. Ladies and gentlemen, let me just be your sacrificial lamb on a Thursday. So first of all, Ronnie, do you remember what I was doing? Like, I don't remember what I was doing. It was,
I think we had done Mimosa Hotline with Bill. I think it was Thursday.
Maybe it was Thursday. And then we met afterwards to talk about some programming stuff. Okay. That's right. Okay.
Yeah. So, we had 2 days of program stuff and we mapped all that out. And
Okay. So if I remember this correctly, everybody. Okay. So I think it was like a Wednesday and a Thursday. So Wednesday, I was having one of those CEO days where like, you can do it all, but you really need someone else to just like bounce ideas off, talk through the thing and like get it done. So in context, I'm designing 2 new programs. They're both kind of the 90-day kind of focus of things. I had it all, but it was like the tech that I needed to make sure everything like connected and the flow was right and what it was, and just talk through it all and also show another human what the hell I was working on. So we have that, and Ronnie and I like crushed it. Like, I think it was only a 2-hour call, but we probably did like a normal human's work week of, you get it? Okay, we're moving on. And then Thursday we have this genius call where like usually hotline guest hot seats are like 20 minutes. We give the first half of the show. Oh my God. Guys, we talked to the full hour mark helping out our last guest. And it was just such great content because it was things that we see every day, all the time, everyone does. And it was so helpful. So I'm just like on this, you know, overload of genius-ness. So I'm like, I don't know exactly what I was doing, but I think it was this. It was like, we get off the call, I make all of the show notes, I'm making tea, I'm kind of doing that home entrepreneur thing where you're like making tea, finishing something, picking up laundry, over here doing this, and I'm like buzzing around. And all of a sudden, sorry men for our audience, but I have this feeling like I'm like hungry, sick, I don't know. Well, it turns out I'm a woman and I'm having cramps. So I'm like, okay, that too, let's add that in the mix. Right. So I go into the bathroom and I like go for the Tylenol bottle. I take 2 pills and I walk into the living room and I'm like, oh shit. I didn't actually just swallow 2 Tylenol pills. I swallowed melatonin of like 10 milligrams. That's going to knock me on my ass in about a half hour. And it's like, what was it? Like 2 in the afternoon, something like not productive, that like it wasn't one of those things that like I can work through. This is actually like my sleeping pill I take every night to like dose myself off. Like I'm going down, like there's no stopping this. And I just start living alone, working from home, getting your shit done. You're so freaking smart. And now you're left alone in this moment of like, am I committed enough to be bulimic and throw the shit up? Or do I just take one for the team, call it a day, and we're just going to have a nap and probably be asleep by like 4. Turns out I'm not bulimic. I'm sorry, but that just didn't work out for me. And so I like Voxer Ronnie, and I'm just like laughing at myself in the moment of like, how am I this smart and then this stupid? And Ronnie's just like, well, it's the universe needing to be in balance and like, you know, as a good friend would do, make me feel better. But I think she probably got off that box and was like, wow.
Well, I mean, I got off and I was like, that's so something I would have done. I probably have. I mean, like, it's one of these moments. I've had it a couple of times in the last week. I don't know if it's Mercury retrograde or coming out of it or what it is, but I'm like, I'm blaming it on something. Also, I saw a meme the other day. It was like Mercury has station direct now. All of the crap
shit is your fault.
Is your fault. And I was like, yeah, I guess so now. But I've done it a couple of times in the past week. Like I've had these brilliant moments where I've given great advice or done something really great or it's really smart. And then I turn around and people are like, what? This isn't right. What is wrong here? I don't think I have $700. I think I have $200. And I'm like, no, you're right. You have $200. I had a blonde moment. I don't know what's wrong with me.
My bad.
Just a blonde moment.
That's called manifesting for 700 coming into your world. Yes, I'm here to tell you it's on its way. Yeah.
I mean, I think it happens to the best of us, but
oh yeah, you know, that's one thing I miss about being like in a relationship. I'm gonna out myself, is that like I feel like people get a real good show when they're close to me, friends or in a romantic relationship or something, because I definitely want to own, like my smarts are really, really smart, but my dumb-dos, ooh, dumb.
I know. There were some days Alan looks at me and he was like, you have a master's degree.
Like,
I know, it's awful.
Yeah, like, well, it was not in service today. It was.
And then when it's like stupid life stuff, I'm like, they didn't teach this in my MBA program.
No. Yeah. And I just want everyone to know that I have now labeled with Sharpie the melatonin. It says sleep on the top, so I don't get confused between the white Tylenol bottle and the white melatonin bottle. And I also only have that, I want to be like, but I have an excuse. Okay. So I was cleaning the bathroom the other day and I have like, I think all women do this. We have like our everyday use bottles at the top, like the hairspray, the, skincare, whatever. It's all on top of the counter. And I had put the Advil underneath because I was trying to clean up everything. And I just, I'm going to make an excuse for it, y'all. And I don't even care. I know I did a dumb dough and it's fine. Damn.
So the moral of the story is
we're all human.
We're all human. And we had like the most brilliant Mimosa hotline.
I know.
And then did stupid
and then it
stuff.
just tanked out me in the universal equilibrium of like, Yeah. And that's another thing to bring up too, is I think a lot of people that align with us or resonate with us, we all have to remind ourselves, and I think you do it to me at least every other day right now, which I really appreciate, is that, what we do in a day is what the typical employee does in a week. And we have to be okay that sometimes like this happened to me yesterday. I got to be honest. I got everything done on my to-do list except the one thing that I was like going to do. And like, okay, that's good, but it needed to be an administrivia day. Like it just all had to happen. And so I got all of that done. And the one thing I had set that entire day aside to do did not get done. But I'm like, you know what? Look at and I'm not kidding. There were like 20 things that I got done yesterday. And divine time, it will happen when it's meant to happen. But meow, 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 meow. And then I'm like guilty about it. I'm like, Ashley, you set the whole day aside to do this one thing. And I have all the parts to do it. I just, between the messages I was getting, the freakouts I was having, the day of like this. I was so good. I started the day with like, I'm going to give myself 90 minutes to get as much done of this as I can. And then 90 minutes for this. And then 90 minutes for that. I got through the first 90 minutes and it rolled over for the rest of the day. Boo.
I mean, but you still got a lot done. It just wasn't the one thing. But bringing up like what we do in a day is equivalent to what like an employee would do in a week.
Yeah.
Back to my whole PR sprint that I'm on. I was actually writing out an interview for a magazine that I'm getting featured in, and it was talking about things like that. And I'm like, it was talking about mindset. It asked me the question about like mindset stuff. Like if you could go back and tell your younger self something that now, what would it be? And I was like, I'm a terrible employee. I mean, I'm an awful employee. And I mean, I went back, I'd worked for myself. I went back to a software company as an employee for director of marketing. And I'm a terrible employee. I don't know why I didn't get fired within the first 6 months, because one, I've been like, I'll show up when I want to show up. Like, I'm not coming in at 9 a.m. like you want me to, because that's not what I'm used to. But I show up when I want to show up. I'm a little aggressive on my thoughts of like what should happen in this business, but it's not my business, and I like show everybody else up because I get more done in a day than they do all week. And I'm a terrible employee.
Yeah. And it's not even like trying. It's just like,
no, it's just
us alone and not distract us. Like we're just powerhouses. Yeah. I mean, well, I always think about that too. Like I just had a new client come on this week, and our first 90 minutes, of course, I spent the first 30 minutes of onboarding and Hakuna Matata, but like I got through a huge chunk of our discovery and they were pretty impressed. They were like, I had no idea this is what branding is. And like, this is what you're pulling from it. Like, this is insane. And I was sharing with her, I don't know if this is semi-related, but I feel like it is. So bear with me on this. But I sometimes feel like, a fortune teller of data, like, or like a tea leaf reader would look at the, shapes of it. Like I get the data and it's like, okay, this is what's in front of me, but this is what I see, like underneath, or they say like reading between the lines or something. And they were really impressed. They were like, yeah, I thought I'd just answer the questions and that was that. But like, you like interpret all of it. And I was like, yeah. And that was interesting feedback for me because I thought everybody did that.
Oh, Well, I knew everybody didn't do that because I've always been in marketing research.
True.
And so I obviously as a marketing person, like, I mean, I started my career, I mean, I graduated in 99, I started at the newspaper and I was there for 2 years. I went straight into marketing research. So I've been in marketing research for like 20 years. So I'm used to like looking at data and then like interpreting that data so that like creative can happen on the other end of it. And I mean, it's always amazing when I work with clients and I like look at their analytics and I'm like, well, this is what your customer journey is doing through your website. And they're like, how do you know that? I'm like, because this is where they're like, I can see the numbers, like, this is how it works. And they just like, most people just can't read between the lines of that data.
Yeah.
And that's always like when I do my marketing calculator, like, you know, while it's very simple and you only need a couple of data points, like when I use that calculator, I use it to determine budget a lot of times for a campaign or, you know, just kind of like what the goal is. But it's not really about the budget I want for the marketing campaign. I'm looking for where do people fall off, right? So if I'm looking at those numbers and I go, okay, well, my conversion on my ad is good, but my conversion on my website's bad. I'm like, okay, well, now I need to look at the copy. Right. The website needs work. So while sure, now it's saying I need like $1,300 for this ad campaign. If I spend part of that budget working on conversion on the site, now that's less, right? So I use it to read between the lines of where things need to be worked on. And I think I explain that a lot when I talk about that calculator and I do like talks on it because people look at it and go, I don't have $3,000 to spend on ads. So like that scares people because they see the bottom line of it because they're like, it's a calculator. That's what I'm there for. So I have to like really sit down and explain, well, you know, your ad's only converting at 1.2%. Well, let's work on the ad and make it convert better. And then let's work on the website and make it convert better. And now your budget's $300, you know? Absolutely. So, you know, it's kind of talking about that reading between the lines of those pieces of data to know the things that you actually need to work on. Yeah. And I mean, I use the calculator more so for that than I actually do to determine budgets.
Yeah, same. My questionnaire, it's like a magical formula that after 9 years of doing this, I have these questions in the right order and they've been reordered many times that in the end, it creates iconic results. Now, if you only had like one or two of them, it wouldn't be anything, but the way it happens. And I tell my people, like, I'm going to annoy the shit out of you because I ask the same question 10 different ways and do not answer see above, because every time you answer and every time you get more pissed off at me, you give me a little bit more juice to that point. And I've already pulled out this person's entire value system. And she was like, oh my God, like, it's a big deal, you know? So that was kind of cool. But I also don't want to jump off the topic of your marketing calculator. More tea, people. I will get words at some point. Ooh.
We've been smart for 2 weeks, man.
I know, and I still need to smart more this week. That should be a tagline. Smart more this week. Oh my gosh.
That's a meme somewhere.
Yeah. If not, someone go make that and send it to me. Hashtag I didn't say that. So yeah. Tell us more, because I don't know if everyone knows about your calculator, that it's something you offer on your website for free. It's like an opt-in, all the things. Tell us more just in general about it. I'm playing stupid, but like,
Oh, so that's my lead magnet in the funnel of things to build my list is I have a marketing calculator, and it's a Google sheet. Like, I mean, and so I give that away free in exchange for people's emails because that's a funnel. And that's how we build lists. But I will say I'm also terrible at emails. So like, yeah, I got a list, but
you're not going to get email. Just get the damn thing. Yeah.
Yeah.
And in this calculator, break it down a little bit, like not all the things, but like, what does it do and what can?
So I actually built in the formulas. So all you have to do is plug in like 5 pieces of data. So one of them is just what's your goal? Like what's your revenue goal, which is a piece of data, but not something that you actually have to look up. Like you just have to, so your revenue goal, the price of your service or product, that gives me then how many like sales you have to make from the website, right? And then we do need out of the site, how many sales do you actually make? Like, how does it actually convert? What's your traffic? How many sales do you actually make? And then a couple of pieces of like, if you're running an ad, data there as far as like, what's your average conversion or click-through rate? Really, it's a conversion rate, but still a click-through rate of like clicking from the ad over to where you want them to go. And kind of like, what's the average cost of that? And lots of times people have never run them, so I tend to just throw in what the industry average is. It's around 2%. Like if you're at 3%, you're doing really. If you're at 5%, you're doing great. But on average, it's somewhere between 2 and 3%. So I kind of like drop those in just as industry standards. The average like click through on an ad is like 77 cents. If you're clicking off of the platform. And so you plug in those couple of pieces of data, it gives you your conversion rate on your site, the conversion rate of your ad, and based on the cost of those ads, how much you might need to spend to meet your revenue goal.
Cool.
Right. So if we know our revenue goal, how many sales you have to make. Yeah. And if you have a conversion rate, how much traffic you have to drive. So you just kind of, this is all digital marketing is. You just work the numbers. It's a formula. You work backwards.
I love
from
that.
Your goal.
And then also people can then book a call with you to kind of interpret what it is. And you would probably share like, okay, this number means this means that, or from what your input is, here are the areas that we can tweak and refine, not necessarily spending the money, but like it gives you data back.
Yeah. And kind of how this came about was I would get clients all the time that would run ads, and I didn't manage their site. I only managed the ad. And so we would run an ad and I'd get clients all the time were like, the ad's not working. And I'd go back.
The website isn't working.
Right. And I'd go back through and I would look at my data from the ad and I'm like, our conversion rate's 5.2%. Like I'm making a number easy. I'm driving 100 people to your site. Like that's not an ad problem. If nobody of those 100 people, nobody signed up or bought or opted in or did something, that's a website problem, not an ad problem. And so I have found with my clients, they wanted to blame everything on the ad not working because that's where they're spending money, right? So let's blame the thing that I'm spending money on so I don't have to spend money. Like it's a nice excuse to say, oh, it didn't work, so I'm not going to spend money on that. When in actuality, I was like, it was kind of my way of justifying my work of saying, no, what I'm doing is correct and I'm getting good results on that. You need to talk to your website people or figure out website stuff because it's not converting there. That's not my problem. I'm only dealing with the ad. So I actually created it for myself.
Right.
To kind of
evidence.
To show, okay, well, this is where it's kind of the hole is within this funnel. And so once I did that, and then I was kind of like, well, I kind of use this for everything now. And I was like, this is a great opt-in. People need to have this. So I just, it's a Google sheet. So it's easy,
Well, okay. Well, now let's not discredit it. It might be easy for us, but it's invaluable for others. So I love that. And I think it's very generous.
Easy for me to make a lead magnet is what I meant.
There you go. Okay.
Yeah.
I'm curious because I want to play devil's advocate here a little bit of, when you see that it's not the ad and it goes back to the website where, people, I think in general, people need to review their sites. I know myself included, because I'm kind of doing this right now on a few things. I can out myself on what I'm going to say in a second here, but like, when you go back to your website, where are the conversion points? Like, where do you, if it's not the ad and you say it's on the website, what should people go back to the website and look at to be like, okay, I can refine this, this, and this? As you say, it's like the customer journey. What are some top of mind generalizations of that people would look at?
Lots of times the first thing is going to be copy, like the actual copy on your site. And what I find particularly for small business owners is they write their own copy, which is phenomenal. That's great. I mean, sometimes we're great writers, sometimes we're not. We kind of know our strengths and our weaknesses, but in general, most people that are solopreneurs or small businesses take things on themselves and they write their own copy. Well, in the website world, while the copy might be great to read and it's very conversational, like if you and I were sitting here talking, it's not very website friendly. And so SEO keywords are not there, one, to drive traffic, and two, you're not using very specific psychographic kind of words to actually get people to click buy or click opt in, or, there are some tricks there from psychology. Like, I mean, this about the psychology of color. That plays a big important role in websites too. On buttons, they say like bright colored buttons convert better, it's, so those kinds of things are things you can easily work at, but tends to be like the number one thing, that it tells a good story, but doesn't necessarily ask for the sale or ask for the thing to do.
Yeah.
So copy is generally the first thing. The other thing I think that happens is people then what they do is they run an ad, and rather than take the ad and send them to a specific landing page that they're promoting to that ad, they send them to their homepage, and their homepage,
or the contact page, call me, text me, email me.
Right. And right. And so the customer, there's a disconnect. So then the customer is like, oh, now I'm confused, and they kind of drop off. But also too, like if you're connecting to your homepage from an ad that's very specific, say on something like let's say you're running an ad for a course, and then you click them over to your homepage.
And it's something totally different.
Well, most of the time your homepage is asking them to do 14 different things.
Right.
And so they're like, wait a second, I was on an ad for this course opt-in thing, and I'm on their homepage that doesn't have that there, like right in the front center. So that tends to happen a lot. Like those are kind of my first things to look at.
I can totally out myself on this. So it all started in so it's been a couple of triggers is what I'm going to say from my own site. The first thing was I chopped my hair off. So my videos have hair here, and I just feel like it's outdated, and it is not that hard to sit down and record a new video. At least in my opinion, the way I'm doing it, it's not. So that was kind of the first trigger I needed to update. The second one was these new programs that I'm working on. And in looking at my service pages, as you said about the copy, I just want to own this, because I write my own copy and I'm proud of it and I like it. But I also want to be the first to say, I'm too humble in my sale. I'm like, I don't want to sell you, so here's this and Girl, there's nothing wrong with selling. Sell it. Like, let it be. And one thing I caught in a design element that I thought was beautiful is actually maybe holding up some of my sales. At the very bottom, I said what you can expect, what you can get out of it, and how to get started, which I thought was like this really beautiful, tab system. So it wasn't so bulky, but now I'm realizing I need them to click 3 times to buy. And I'm like, that's not okay. So now I'm going to unpack that and put it back into the website. It may be a longer page, but at least those buttons are quick and easy there. And right now, the way I had it from the coach that I've been working with, nothing against this, it's a strategy, it's an option, whatever, was to have them fill out an application and then book a call. Well, it should just be fill out an application and pay me. Why am I, what? So I'm going to change that up, a little bit of do this, do that. But I also still like this strategy, because not everyone's a good client for you, especially for me, at least in the design. Anybody I can do an audit for, a brand review, I can do that for anybody. But for somebody that wants to be a brand design client, there's a little bit more I need to have in place. Like if you're a first year business owner, I wouldn't even encourage this, it's not right for you yet. So I like that it's the fill out an application and just tell me what's going on, and then also book that call. That's easy. But I don't even have those clear buttons, and we were working on one of my newsletters where at the bottom, I have those clear buttons instead of hyperlinks. And I was like, okay, that I like better. So it's almost, all of us are this way. No one wants to be the salesy weirdo, but there are times where you got to just make it easy for them to buy, make it as easy as possible.
Path of least resistance.
Exactly. And that's where I was like, okay, this looks beautiful. I love how it is, but I don't think it's the easiest. So, this is the point though. It's these micro tweaks and micro refinements that, you let it live for a bit, but then see what happens. And it may still come through, but I had a gentleman reach out to me on Messenger. He wanted a brand review. I sent him straight, literally, that's what the page is called, brand review. And it didn't convert. And I was like, okay, where did I go wrong here? What was it? And I have to wonder if it just wasn't easy enough. that's where it made me review this. So that's okay. That's not a loss. That's a thank you so much, because the next people, this will da 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 da. So, you know, kind of taking those numbers and looking at the facts and editing how it's happening. And I haven't yet, but I would love to go back to them and say, hey, you know, you seemed really interested. This seemed like a thing. Would you be willing to share with me kind of what caused you to not? He also, by the way, never said no. I just haven't heard from him yet. So this might be an Ashley's impatient thing, but I'd love to just ask, like, hey, curious, what, where did I drop your interest? Where was this like not something you wanted to carry through? Did you get distracted? Was it a this? Because that's the other thing. If they're just distracted, I don't need to tweak. But at the same time, in my own, you know, we're all smarter 90 days from now than we were 90 days from now. And it's like, I'm just looking at it at myself, because, I've been looking at a lot of websites recently of new vendors I might partner with, and just even navigating theirs, I was like, okay, mine's beautiful, but that's not enough. You know, you got to change this. So everybody has their thing. And my other thing is that I don't have the perspective. Like, I have this perspective easily with clients because it's not my site, but because it's my own, I don't always catch it as fast as I would with clients, because you can't see your own eyebrows moment. So it doesn't make me a bad brander or something. It makes me a business owner doing my own shit.
I mean, you know, in your heart, you're a designer, right? And I mean, you truly are. And sometimes with websites, and I mean, not to get back into a whole nother show on websites, but sometimes on websites, we have to sacrifice design for conversion.
Amen. And you know what, I mean, we should.
Yeah. I mean,
ish. Now, don't ask a designer that. I'm like,
I know. Well, no, it still has to be designed well. Like, it still has to be on brand. It still has to be designed well. It still has to have like all of those elements of, yeah, it still has to have, don't get me wrong. I don't want to say you can, you know, throw up a sloppy website and it convert, although I've seen that happen, but I am the same way. Like, I appreciate a really beautiful, well-designed, laid out website that also converts well.
Absolutely.
You know, so I mean, it's
got to tell it, it's got to sell it, and it's got to show it, like, in the sense of, it's got to tell clearly what you do. It's got to sell it that you're converting, but it also has to show who you are. Like, I have had so much fun. So I just put up this post, and by all means, I hope people will copy this because it works. I do this post that says, I'm looking to connect with the following experts and specialists. And then I bullet point like industries. My whole point is my business runs off referrals. So I'm looking for referral partners, not straight clients. However, now I kind of want to try this with like a client version. I think that would be kind of fun to see like what would be intrigued by this. But, you know, I got a lot of EAs, VAs, OBMs. I have a ton of website people coming at me, which is funny because I'm like, you didn't even read the prompt, people. Like, I was looking specifically for Squarespace and Wix because I love my WordPress vendor. Like, that's not my problem, but I won't lie to you. I have turned away business because it was a Squarespace person, and I'd like to have a vendor for that. And it's just, this is not a monogamous thing. It's like, what people need thing.
Function.
Like, I just had someone, she's an eyebrow technician, and hers is off of Wix, I believe. And it's just like, I don't know that one. Like, my work still applies, but I need a technician to help me with that. So it's just interesting to see them, you know, across the board. Some of them, I go to their sites and I don't have a clue what it is. I mean, I know you're like this. It was just, you know, the one that stood out the most to me were two. One is an OBM. The other one claims she's a VA, that they should actually switch titles, in my opinion. One, clear as day, like, it was almost like she was in my head. Every question I would want to know was right there laid out. The other one, it was very sparse, and talking to her, well, we don't want to give away all of our whatever. And I was like, oh, you're that person. Gotcha. And then the other one, I was like, you may not make the cut. And then the other one, I haven't even met yet. I almost don't even need to because of the way it is. And I'm like, okay, this is good. She had her services. The price was there. It was all there. It wasn't like this, we're figuring it out on the backside, we don't want to give it away thing. And one of the biggest things that I'm looking at this is something new, with any type of assistant role, a VA, virtual assistants, EA, executive assistants, or OBM, I just realized people may not know these, online business manager, is for myself and my clients, I want to know what softwares you know. Are you Asana? Are you Airtable? Are you Trello? Like, what are you? Mm-hmm. And I'm going there to sell vet. If you use my systems, great. If not, then we don't need to waste each other's time. Let's go. Right. And I want to give a shout out to Virtual Kathy up in Vancouver. I love how she does this. She is a VA service, OBM service. She literally puts like the logos of all of the softwares on her website in almost like a word cloud. I love that. It was so helpful. And the few, like she had, I would say 3 of my 5, the other 2 I asked, and sure enough, they had it. But it was interesting. The woman, the team I talked to, they were like, well, we don't want to tell all of our secrets. I was like, you better start telling it, because I'm going to just assume you have these 4 and that's it. And she was like, oh, and then what was interesting on their site is they're actually I would say, talent staff recruiting for VAs. They actually don't even do the work. They find the work. Oh. And it was really interesting because there was a disconnect there too. Their own price was higher than the VA price. And I was like, someone that can afford you wouldn't want this price, and vice versa. So there's like a disconnect here. Right. Like, I don't even understand. Like, so if I want somebody that's $30 an hour, yet I pay you $2,500 a month to find said person, I don't know that that's going to work out. Like, what?
That's weird. That's a disconnect for me too.
I was like, I don't know about that. And she's like, oh my God, that's so helpful. Thank you so much. And so we like talk through these things, but it's interesting, just websites, what they do, how much they show, things that we refine, and we evolve. So the website that worked for us, 2 months ago may not work for who we are today. And we've been building out a ton on mine. The Mimosa Hotline is brand new in my resource section. That all got built out. We've got the courses coming up soon, not courses, programs coming up soon, all of that. But it's fun, and I do wish more people had the skills we had, in the sense that they could like dedicate a week to just updating it and not be so dependent on their teams. Yeah. But I also wish that you have teams and vendors that support you to be able to evolve like we do, because now I don't know the last time I designed I design all the pages on my site, but the guys build it out, and that saves me so much time. But that was hard for me to give up, because I really like doing that part. I was like that. So it's interesting, but
I mean, and it's such the balance between design and function. Like, there's
100%, and every interior designer has that same problem too.
Exactly. You want it to be well designed and reflect your brand and all of those things, but you also have to take in consideration who the visitor is, and like
absolutely
how they're going to work through it. And so it's this really like, it's a dance between the two things to really get a good functioning website. But I want to go back to the like not giving your secrets kind of comment. This is interesting because just yesterday I'm working with my business partner, and next week we are doing an in-person training for 9 engineers for a quality management system, automotive ISO stuff, which is totally not sexy and boring, but it makes money. But anyway, in the process of that,
sorry, that was amazing. I was like, we're doing this really awesome thing.
It's boring and not sexy. I mean, like, who really wants to know about ISO standards? But honestly, with ISO standards, once you really get into it and you're like, yeah, that makes a lot of sense. All businesses should follow this, but that's a different story for a different day. Okay. We were talking about like, within this course, and we're updating all of the content of the course and the material, and it's in person. And as we're conducting it in person, we're also putting it online. So it's kind of like, as he's teaching it, my job then is to like then move all that content over into an online classroom. And so we were talking yesterday about, this is a very specific course for ISO standards to get compliant and be certified. And so within that, though, we have a concept of this like bigger system that's like an encompassing business management system for companies. And we were having the conversation of like, so how do we like jump off? Like, how do we take what we're teaching right now and jump off to try and get them to get into the philosophy and upsell to this bigger management system concept. And in that conversation, we were talking about like the customer journey and like how these people work. And Jim asked me, and he was like, well, so like, what do we give? What do we give to get people interested in this? Like, what's like, you know, like I can give an overview. Yeah, I can give an overview of the system. And I was like, okay, this is a different conversation. I think this is a good conversation for us to have. When you're thinking about, you have a program or you have a training or you have a course, rather than create a whole new like free giveaway that's an overview, you actually give a piece of the course, like one small piece. That's the one thing that's a really quick win, right? And so I was like, you know, within this system, we have turtle diagrams, and 90% of our traffic on the site comes from turtle diagrams. Totally random, weird thing. But I was like, we give that piece of the system away. You know, we're not recreating the content. Like, we already have it. It's part of the system. You give that piece away. It gives them a quick win that now they're like, oh, well, this now works in a bigger system, that now I see how that all goes together. And so then it kind of brings them back to, okay, well, let me do a masterclass in this. Okay, well, let me get a workshop for the company on how to like implement this, and kind of go from there. But I think so many program and course creators particularly want to give away like this quick ebook that's a nice like overview of stuff, right? When in actuality, it's much more functional to actually give your secrets away.
Amen.
You know, give it away, because they're going to get a quick win. And to be honest, I'm guilty of this, because you can go out and you can get all the information for your business, and you can get an MBA for free on YouTube. 100%. I'm not going to take the time to do that. You know, and even if I gave all of my secrets away, somebody's not going to take the time
to connect the dots.
That took me years to create. Same for you and your system.
Absolutely.
They're like, I'm going to pay you to tell me what to do.
Even if they could,
all your pieces.
Yeah. And even if they could, there's an element they just can't do because it's for themselves. Yeah. Like this whole seeing your eyebrows, or this whole concept of how we're able to read between the lines or know how to interpret the data. Like, yeah, I cut you off, but yes, absolutely. Yeah. Sorry.
No, I mean, I think the point there was, you know, when you're thinking about your funnel kind of in these programs and online course stuff, you know, giving your stuff away, like a whole module of your course away, is a good way to like get them hooked in. And that piece needs to be the piece that gives them a really quick win. Yeah. Right. Because if they can get a really quick win, you're done. Like, that's an easy sale.
I have to say, I've been doing this. So I have two examples of this that makes me so excited. So the first example is I had a client, and I think we have such a good relationship at this point. I can play with her and say this. I had a client go rogue. She thought she could do it herself. And the girl did. She's been a year. And I would say she's a junior brand strategist at this point, because she thought that she could find a better way. So she found the vendors. She tried it out. She got, you know, excuse my French on this, but screwed in all the ways to figure out some of the basics I know. And then she came back to me and was so relieved when we were working together again, because she could almost see it at a new level where like, okay, this is the, you know, she had worked with other graphic designers, yet they didn't hit the mark the way I did when I did the graphics, or they didn't hit the mark when I did the branding of end all. I'm just saying there's a thing that we have that you can't necessarily get. But I was excited because when she did come back, we're having deeper conversations. So it's kind of fun. So the reason I share that is to put ease on people that have this fear of people copying them or going out and doing what you're doing. Like, let them, because that's going to hurt. And come on back. I've got Band-Aids. Like, let me know. But then also the conversations are even better. And there's enough for everybody, whatever you need to say, all the outcomes for that. So that's one phase of this. Number two is I have been having so much fun with my newsletters. I have been giving the secrets away like nobody's business. And I have been like, where's my person that prints all of these off and realizes that's the full brand binder? the whole thing is there for y'all. And I like giggle when people are like, oh, that's a good idea. I was like, girl, if you even connected the dots, it's all there for you. This week is my favorite. It is my absolute favorite. I literally gave away what is chapter 3 in the brand binder. It's called the perspective. And it's the perspective on your business where you're breaking it down into your process of before, during, and after working with you, the projects that you need of that, like what parts do you need to refresh, design, enhance, and then also to avoid the overwhelm, how to prioritize into like, now, what do we need to do now? What's next? What's later? Shit's gold. And I'm like, someone get this, someone use this, because our knowledge is worthless if people don't put it into action. So I don't mind giving away some of the biggest things. I do know I got complimented the other day saying that, like, even in conversation, I don't do shallow conversation. I will literally brand you in conversation. It just comes out of me, but it's up to them to follow up on it, take it, integrate it, whatever. And you know what, in my opinion, if people do, then we just have a ripple effect of that much better business, that much better brand and design and personified businesses that don't just stand there without a face and without a value system and just sell you, but actually create like a social impact. That matters to me. So please steal my shit, like in the sense of like, go do it. I know when I did my open house too, I had everybody under the mindset of rob and duplicate. What part of my site do you love that you could integrate on yours? What part of this, like, I believe in that. I think it's great. And we all know that's the core, like we've all heard it, if you have 5 tips, give away 3, tell them to join and get the next 2. It's a thing.
I mean, I'll be honest, I didn't connect the dots on all your emails.
Yeah.
And I know you.
Well, then I'm doing it right. But like,
but I mean, it's really, one, imitation is the best form of flattery. Like, you're genius, you're in your genius when somebody tries to steal it from you.
Yeah.
But 2, even if you could connect all the dots,
you still need help. For sure.
Because you do what you do and are not necessarily a brander, like your brain works differently in connecting those dots, right? Like, I mean, it just does. It does. And honestly, like, I don't want to do all that legwork.
And I know people don't, that's what brings them back. But yeah, I had fun. So I'm going to out my own newsletter. This is not a sales tactic. This is like to help you guys see this. So what I did was I took the full branding process, like start to finish, the whole thing, and I chunked it into 12 bites. Like, what would those 12 bites be? And then I turned that into my newsletter. And every year, so now I've been more consistent with it, but every year I'll still refine it slightly, but it's basically the same. So I'm not saying when the start and end is of this thing, but even if you started today, my best advice with this newsletter would be to print it off. I would add another couple of pages of your own integration and how you're interpreting it. And then the next one, and then the next one, and then the next one. And then when you see the repeat, there's your sign. But it builds on it, and I get better as I go. So every year I'll have new insight on that portion of it to provide or refine or tweak and give. But it's like, I almost feel like I'm getting away with something, because it's like, has anybody picked up on this yet? Like, because yes, every single one I feel is invaluable and amazing in itself. But if you picked up on it, like, you've got some gold over there. Like, call me for a strategy session, because you've got it. Like, it's
right. Well, I mean, and to kind of loop this around to something else too, that I think people struggle with every day is content creation, right? So this is the number one complaint I get from people is content creation. Like, you feel like you have to create content every single day. Like, you just created your content calendar for a year. Like,
done.
It's done for a year, like, why
secretly, like, the last 3 months when I thought I was getting to Chicago by now, which we'll all address that later, I had written 3 months of my newsletter, and it takes a while, mind you. Like, back then it was only 2, now there's 4 that go out a month, but I had written 3 months in advance. I didn't even have to do that. That's huge.
Yeah. Well, I mean, even talking about content calendar, like sometimes you're like, your post today was brilliant. I loved it. And I was like, thanks. I have to go back and read it. I have because I wrote it probably 3 weeks ago. Like
exactly.
No clue what is there. Yeah. But I mean, I think the content is the number one thing that we all struggle with. And, taking things you already have and repurposing them, like, make it much easier on yourself. You don't have to create brand new every day. Like,
no,
there's
so many theories on this, there's content pillars. Like if you had a trifecta, what are the 3 things that you would always be talking about? Or, the daily posts of like Monday motivation, tagging Tuesday, work it Wednesday, whatever. We're kind of over that. There's another version that one of my coaches uses. All the things, right? I have found though, I want to give 2 away just because I'm so freaking inspired by them right now. One is a concept of being unfiltered. And it was a 30-day challenge I was given in my own. So let's give reference. Shamika Tankerson is my coach and gave this to us as an assignment, and it is genius. Now she gives us 30 prompts that every day we have to be unfiltered about that topic. But you can do this in general, where I almost call it like drunken posting. Like you would say it drunk, you may not say it sober, right? Like that thing. And it's just being totally unfiltered about your industry, your work, what you believe, what you do, all the things, right? And it is genius. It set me free. It actually helped me on so many different personal levels when I did that for a month. It was absolutely fabulous, just to give yourself permission to speak on what you think. Crazy. The second one is new to me. And so far, those 2 posts have been the best performing. It's installing true beliefs. Also, shout out to Shamika Tankerson for this. But this was the best exercise I've ever done. So you do it kind of twofold. So the first part, you write down all of the reasons why someone would say they shouldn't work with you, all of the objections. It's too expensive. I don't have time. Who needs a brand? We're in a recession, whatever it is that's an objection. Then you go in a breakout room and you had other people add it onto that list of things why they shouldn't. So you write them all down. Then you go back and you write all of the reasons someone should work with you, like all the results. And then you had people give you feedback on those, and you have these 2 lists. And the whole concept is kind of addressing objections, but from the result you want them to have, the mindset you want them to have. So instead of saying like, it's too expensive, it would be like, the reason, like the ROI of branding, like the return on investment. Don't think of it as an expense. Think of it as a life-altering experience. That's one of my posts I haven't written yet, but that's a really good one I'm excited about. And you like write this thing, and it has been so good, and I'm loving it. It's a little bit mind warping because you got to sit with the reason, the objection not to, and flip it to be the reason why. Right. And I love this. I don't know. I love challenges like this. So for the next 30 days, in full transparency, that's my focus, is trying to show all the reasons why, not reasons not to. There's plenty of reasons not to, but in truth, none of us have time for that. That's also like, I don't know, not my person, but anyways, but those 2 things as content creation, just to give like 2 ideas, is the unfiltered posting and the true belief. I don't know about anybody else, but in this year of fall and change, the leaves are about to change. Everything's changes in the air. I am beyond aware of how much false programming is in my mind. Beyond, it's insane. And now it's starting to like trickle into the world around me too, of how much just programming and false and objection and negativity there is, that just that little bit of inspiration for me to write like the opposite post kind of changes my day, and I really enjoy it. It puts you in perspective of not what's not working, but what is working. I need that right now.
Well, and 2, I think that, we're all in this thing, I see this kind of a lot with like business gurus out there when they're doing their content about, you have to be authentic, you have to be authentic, you have to be authentic, right? Like that's kind of like this ongoing like dialogue that all of them are giving. You have to be authentic. But if you think about those 2 exercises, like that really is getting to the heart of authentic. And yes, customers and clients are looking for authenticity. Like they don't want to deal with the sleazy used car salesman. We don't, like, why would they? But I think that the other thing that does for people is it helps you pull out the things that you stand for, right?
Yes.
Those things that you really value and that you have a strong opinion on, because if you're in the sea of sameness, you're never going to get noticed. No. Never. Like you have to stand out from the crowd. Like that's how marketing works. Like you have to have an opinion and a strong opinion on something so that people actually like remember you.
Absolutely.
You know, I mean, I have a strong opinion that marketing is a science, not a creative.
I have a strong opinion that branding is something to be, like a lifestyle, not something to do.
Right. I mean, you know, like, so having those like platforms that you can stand on, like it's almost a movement. Like
should be,
you know, like it's a movement that this is the thing you want to change the perspective of people on. 100%. And so like those are like, I think these kinds of challenges start to pull out for your authority and what that is, but also makes you very authentic in going, this is what I think and I have an opinion on it and this is why it is, you know, and really kind of stand in that lane.
It goes back to that quote we've all heard: if you stand for nothing, you fall for everything. And I have to say, it was really fun. This new client and I, we made it through this first part of the discovery. And it's actually something I borrowed from Shauna McKenzie, pre-married, sorry, Shauna Van Bogart now. I met her as Shauna McKenzie. She's always going to be that to me.
Okay, I'm going to let you in on a little secret. McKenzie's her middle name.
Oh, meow.
Her maiden name is actually Heathman, Shauna Heathman.
Oh, I didn't even know
McKenzie's actually her middle name.
Well, then it's still accurate. Thank you.
Yeah, I mean, it was a brand. It was a brand decision she did, but yeah, McKenzie's her middle name.
Yeah, when she had an exercise way back in the day, and I've refined it to be for branding, but she, to some extent, and my exercise now is I have people do an industry rant with about 6 core questions I ask them. I don't know what her original exercise was, but it was inspired by this.
I kind of remember that.
Mm-hmm. And I basically have them, like, without filter, without anything, bitch about your industry, because you did not get in this to be another and doing the same. Like, you're not just another. Like, even we can talk about the burger chains, you know, Carl's Jr. is different than McDonald's, which is different than Wendy's, but they all have their own thing. So like, yes, they're all doing burgers, but uniquely. So I get in there and I ask them, like, sometimes if they're not feisty enough in their answers, I'll make them do it again, because they spit out that genius that we're talking about, that they're very opinionated about. Like, it drives me nuts. Great. Then that is part of your value system. That needs to be the forefront. And they think they're bitching, but really you're showing me your authentic value and why you're doing what you do. I mean, we all know Simon Sinek's, you know, start with why, but I think when you start that way, you're idealistic with it versus when you bitch about it. I'm going to be honest. There's a difference of like, why do you want to change the world? Because I want peace, love, and happiness. I got to tell you, when I get those brands, I'm like, we are not Miss America. We are not Mary Kay with everyone in a face. And I want to make everyone money and love everybody. Shut up. Let's bitch. Like, tell me, because it comes out in a different way. And I think that's the invaluable part.
Yeah, well, and I'm man, kind of to get off the subject, but still in the same vein, like I love Simon Sinek and that whole TED Talk. Like, it's brilliant, and I get it. I get the philosophy and the concept behind it. But my problem with it is that makes everybody feel like they have to have this why that's bigger than them. Like, they have to have this why that changes the world. When honestly, like, my why is I just want to make money, right? Like, I think that it gives us kind of this sense of, if we don't have this like big why, that's this change the world kind of why, then we're not good business people, right? I follow Laura Belgrade, who is Talking Shrimp, and she does, her shtick is email marketing. Like, that's all she does is email marketing. And she's built $1 million company on how to write emails. And I love her and her branding, because she's like, I'm a lazy business owner. I don't have a why other than I want to make money. and people buy from her. It's who she is and it's her brand.
Yeah.
And granted, she still has things she stands for. I mean, she's not a terrible person.
I was just gonna say.
Yeah, like, I mean, there's still stuff there, but she's really just authentic about like, business is business and I have a business to make money. Like,
Yeah.
I'm
Now,
not changing with emails.
I play with that, because somebody that would say that to me, I would be forced to ask, okay, tell me more. Like, okay, you want to make money, but what are you going to use the money on? Are you just a hoarder of money? Is it because I like nice things and I want to buy those nice things? Like, what is it that that money's going for? Because no matter what, as far as we unpack it, there will be a why. Yeah. So my rebuttal, my fun thing is because we always get to say like disagree, agree, whatever, same thing, and respectfully, I still take it back. There's going to be a why at the end of the day. And someone that's coming through my lane, wants to enhance that, wants to showcase that, wants to use that because they know that's what gets them out of the sea of sameness. Because truth, you're not a business unless you're making money. So therefore, it's the sea of sameness saying that, like, I don't have a why, I just want to make money. Okay, but then that's sea of sameness. So you have to differentiate that in some capacity. If that money's used to charity, if that money's used to luxury items, whatever. I literally was having this conversation this morning with Kathleen, where we were talking about pricing again, not to veer off into that episode we did on pricing, but that it doesn't matter what the market is. Walmart and Bergdorf Goodman will always exist. It's luxury. Like it was, I felt, and if she's watching right now, we'll see if this happens because we have 2 viewers. Hello. But like, sometimes I feel like she says, which is true, branding isn't a need to have, it's a nice to have. And I'm like, that's great. But so are all of the luxury items on the market. All of those are nice to have and they're thriving. Like, it doesn't matter. Like, you can be a nice to have, not a need to have, and still be in the market. So I find it's fun when people say things like that of like, I'm just in it for the money. I'm like, that's great. Tell me more. Because those are those like perfect questions of like, there's something in there.
Yeah. And I mean, I don't disagree with that. We all have whys as to what we do, but I think that in the sea of business people out there marketing, feeling
the obligation of having a life altering why.
I feel this obligation that I should have this life altering why, when really, like, I mean, marketing as a science isn't going to change the world. I mean, it might change the business world, but it's like, I'm not saving bees. I mean, I save squirrels, but like I think that we get these messaging from a lot of business like gurus out there that are like, start with why, and like all of these things, like having these bigger visions for the world, which are amazing. But I think it gives us as regular business people just this sense of like, well, I'm not a good business owner if I don't have that. And now I feel like shit.
Yeah. There's definitely this obligation of having it right, or needing a bigger calling. I'm trying to think of what I want to say on this. I think it also gives us purpose and reason. Here's the other thing is like, business is hard. Entrepreneurship, you got to be insane. You just have to. I'm sorry. Like, we're batty. We're bloody insane for how we live life. I learned it this morning too, talking to Kathleen. I'm not normal. So obviously this is how it's going to be because I've chosen that. Actually, I didn't choose this. I was born this way, like hashtag Lady Gaga. I don't know how you're going to make it if you don't have one. I just don't. I mean, the desire for money will carry you far enough. And if you get enough money, it'll definitely keep you going. But I swear to God, if I didn't have my why and my calling, I would not fucking do this a day more. I don't even want to do this some days, but it makes me like, I literally would love to fucking quit and be normal. I would love to be happy with a 9-to-5, a relationship, and like drinking on the weekend and be okay with that. I would die for that. I'm not built like that. And it's fucking annoying. I wish, but this calling chose me. It's in me, and it is my honor, passion, insanity to follow it through. Like, I just, that's why it's almost like it doesn't make sense to me when people say like, if they didn't have one. I'm like, you do, let's find it. Where is it?
Well, and I think part of even with like how she does her brand, her marketing is like, I love that she gives me permission to be a lazy business owner, because I'm a lazy business owner. I really am. Like, I'm a hard worker, but I don't want to post every day. I don't want to post every day on Instagram. I don't want to do reels. I don't like, I don't want to do all of these things that everybody's telling us we have to do. I'm a lazy, I don't even send emails.
I think what's good is, it reminds me, and I keep using this metaphor, so I don't know what it's supposed to be telling me, but I've used it in like 5 different ways this week. Here's the idea. It's almost like art. Business is like art. I could ask 10 people to draw a cat and no one's cat is going to look the same.
Right.
And I think that's what's the artistry behind business is, you can be lazy, you can be active, you can be insane, you can be passive, you can be whatever you want to be, and it's allowed. And I love that part of this arena is that there's no right way to draw this damn cat. I mean, people say there are, people say there's secrets, the only right way, do it this way. But when you get over that level of like experience, then you realize like, I can draw whatever fucking cat I want, price it at whatever I want, and I can do whatever the hell I want with it. Maybe nothing, like you don't have to, like, I love that element. And it also hurts me because I don't know if this is my athleticism or what, but I like to know there is a possibility of perfect and aiming for it. And when it doesn't exist and it's just this void of, it's hard because I like to aim, hit, and accomplish. Like there is a way, like.
This is a big topic for another day.
I know. I just saw the time. Let's carry that into next time. We'll do
that's something to really unpack. Yeah.
Yes. I think we have Leilani joining us next time. Yeah. Yes. But we can talk with her on that too. She's a bestie. We can try. Yeah.
Yeah. That's a big one to unpack. Perfectionism.
Well, we didn't make the Mimosa hotline to do nothing with it. So
that's a big
tap
one.
into that for sure.
Yeah.
But yeah, that's one thing I struggle with. Like, I definitely have not a perfection, but I would say, I outed myself. The tattoo worthy is my perfection in branding. Like, there is a level, if it is worthy of being tattooed onto your body and a level of permanence, then we've made it. We've hit the mark. And if you're not crying out of happiness, we've not hit the mark. Like, let's keep going. So I've decided or determined and pinned into the wall, this is the bullseye I'm aiming for. And everybody gets to choose what their bullseye is, but when it is not set, I got a little batty, people. I want to know.
And I mean, perfectionism is one of those things that's different for everybody. It's just like the definition of success. Like, it's different for everybody. So like, these are mindset things that haunt us for sure. And I would love to say that I'm a recovering perfectionist, but I'm not.
No, I just am. I own it. Like, I've been having a lot of that this week. Like, you need to just release the outcome. You need to be more patient. You need to
I've been better.
Divine time.
I've been better about catching myself.
Same.
Right. So like, if I'm working, like we did it actually just yesterday, working on this course, like we were getting into this, like, it has to be perfect kind of mindset. And we caught ourselves and was like, it just has to be done. Like, like, if you can recognize when you're doing it, that's really kind of when you can start to overcome it. But it's recognizing those moments that then you can kind of like move from there. But that's a big
slippery slope.
And I think that perfectionism is something that is ingrained in every entrepreneur.
Yeah, it's born, you're like born with it. Like, I feel like you're born an entrepreneur or you're not. Like, people say you can learn entrepreneurship, but I don't think you can. Kathleen and I always talk about it. Kathleen is a licensed therapist and social worker and like genius beyond genius. She is now one of my mentors, gurus, guides, and we'll be family at this point. But we've always joked, because she too is in psychology as I am. There's something called the DSM, the Diagnostic Statistical Manual, that holds all of the ways that you diagnose someone. And we've always joked that entrepreneurship should be in the DSM. It should be like a mental disorder, because now mental disorder has a negative connotation, but it is like a set of characteristics, I would say, that
I
on the spectrum of nutty, we should be up in there, because in like a proud way, like you got to be a little batty to do this shit.
I mean, and I have people in my life, like friends and family and all that, just people that are in your life, that my brother is a great example of this. He is not an entrepreneur. He's a worker. He goes in, he does his job, and like he goes home for the day, and he's very happy doing that. He has no ambition to even be a manager. He just wants to go do his job, make the money he makes for the knowledge he has, come home at 5 p.m. and have his life. Like he can separate his job and his life.
God, I wish.
I'm not.
The simplicity of it seems so luxury to me. Like
I am, and I don't have it. I don't have it. And he's like, we came from the same parents.
I know, and that's like the recipe for my death.
Well, and I'm totally going to out myself on this one, but this has always been the running joke in our family. Like, so Brett and I are exactly 4 years apart. And so he graduated from high school the same year I graduated from college. So after high school and college, we're trying to figure out like, what are we doing with, and my brother is one of these people, like he is so smart. Like he can like sleep on the book and recite it. Like,
I hate those people.
And he's so smart. He's so smart. And so the ongoing joke was always, Brett ended up after high school, it was like, I'm not going to college. I'm joining the military. And he went into the military. My parents were pissed. And he was like, I don't understand why you're so upset with this. And they were always like, because you're the smart one and Ronnie's the pretty one. And so we've had this ongoing joke. And as now we've kind of like gotten to be adults, that he's very smart, but I'm very ambitious. Right. So like he doesn't even have a college. I mean, he went into the military and he went the path he needed to. It was exactly what he needed. And I went the path I needed to. And I have a master's degree and have worked really hard to get to where I am, but we are so different in this regard. Like he's a worker. I mean, I'm an entrepreneur. Like it's very different, and the world needs both of those people.
They do. And that's why I say like the eWomen Network conference, I've been 7 years now, but the very first year I ever went, I felt like I arrived at a free convention where everyone was like me, and we were all business owners, and like they said things like I said things, and they wanted things like I wanted. And I was like, oh my God, there's others. Like I felt like a zebra lost in a, horse farm. I was like, huh, what?
Well, and even as entrepreneurs, if you've gotten at some point in your life, you've had a job, right? Like, like it's very, I mean, it's very rare to come straight out of college or straight out of school and go straight into entrepreneurship. Like that it happens, but it doesn't happen very often. So we've each had like jobs at some point in time, and just think about like how miserable we were in jobs.
And I even had entrepreneurial jobs where I was like an independent with them. And I did it. I mean, it was work, but anyways.
Yeah.
All right. Well, on that freak factor notice, I will say we will wrap up for today's I was gonna say Thirsty Thursday. I'm gonna own it. We're gonna wrap up on today's Thirsty Thursday, which is really the Mimosa Hotline. Our Champagne Thursday. We come to you sharing these top of mind things that are helpful. Sometimes we get a little distracted. Sometimes we give you great things. Sometimes it's awesome. Who knows?
And we had no idea what we were coming into.
We had legit no idea. And I am amazed that we actually hit some solid points. If I'm going to be very honest, I got on here like, I don't have the energy. I don't want to talk. Go away. So yay. What we do though is we bring you opportunities to be our guest on the show. If you didn't see, we've had 2 already. So go check those episodes out either on Ronnie's YouTube channel, on my website, and you can see what that's like. Jump in the hot seat. Let us help you. Let us be your business besties, give you our advice on marketing, on branding, anything that we can do to support you, your business, and your vision. I'm throwing that in there on purpose. And all the things. So live every Thursday, 10 a.m. Pacific Standard Time, 1 p.m. Eastern Time. We have show notes that will be written up shortly after, so stay tuned for that. Anything that I've missed?
I don't think so.
Do you have any talks coming up on your PR circuit?
I had a podcast drop yesterday. I probably have another one in the next couple of weeks, and then I have a magazine feature probably coming in the next 2 months.
Love it. So, I think we should also dive into PR too next time. Just how you get it, what you do with it. I think that'd be really good.
Okay.
Yeah. PR and perfectionism. That sounds like a cocktail no one wants. That's amazing. Okay. We'll be back with you guys. Next week, we have Leilani Filipinko joining us, who is the third leg of this trifecta of business besties. And I'm going to wrap up because there's nothing else. Bye.
Yeah. Bye.